Hello everyone, it's just me in the old setup, as you can see. No microphone, nothing fancy, just me, my phone, laptop with some notes on it, and a video that I need to make to acknowledge the death of a hero, not just to America, but to the conservative movement across the world. Today, in a dark twist of irony, is 9/11, and that brings to mind the fact that every generation has their days that they will remember forever for the rest of their lives. They'll remember where they were. For my parents and many of my peers who are a few years older, that defining day is 9/11. And I believe for my generation, one of those days happened yesterday when Charlie Kirk was shot. I'll go over the details briefly just to remind everybody how horrific this is. He was shot at a university in Utah at an outdoor event in front of his supporters by an assassin on a rooftop, shot in the neck, bled out a few hours later, leaving behind his wife and two young children who will now have to live knowing that their father was murdered for a difference of opinion. I already see the news cycle spinning. I already see opinions in comment sections cropping up, people celebrating it. Thank God, most people saying nobody deserves this, even if they harshly disagree. But there are still thousands of likes on comments saying that we should have no empathy for him, that he deserves this for his stance on gun laws. Is the gun okay? I'll talk about all that later on, but it's demonic. It is. The shooter and those who support him are demonic. And there are those who would want to say that it's not that deep, but it is. A man is dead and his family is left behind bereaved. The world has to move on. It will. The fight goes on, but we can't rush past this moment right now. In the aftermath of yesterday's events, a story came to mind, a biblical story of Amasa, who was David's general, appointed in place of Joab. And Joab, out of revenge, out of grudges that he wouldn't let go of, stabbed him in the stomach and left him laying to bleed out in the road. And everybody who walked by that place when they saw Amasa's body stopped to look at it. And I think that's what we have to do. We have to not rush past this. There are things to do. There are things we have to move on. But something has shifted. We have to stop and look at this, and we can't let the news cycle rob us of the fact that this is an undeniable shift in our world, in our culture. A one-of-a-kind voice and almost a guaranteed a future presidential candidate has been lost, tragically, at 31 years of age, and a new horrifying precedent has been set. And they'll try to bury that. Things just keep coming. The world spins so fast. We see so much in the run of a day, but we can't forget this moment and how significant this is. And without Charlie's work, I think we can very confidently say that the United States of America and the entire world would be in a very different and much darker place than we are today. And his life was short, but it was packed with so much effect. I didn't even see that much of his content. I briefly picked up a few of his things during the last election cycle. Was my first real exposure, but I could tell from that how effective he was in communicating to people, in changing minds, in getting out the vote. And he was a history changer. And with that being said, that I didn't even know him that well, why is this hitting so hard? Why is this hitting so many people so hard? Why do we feel this deep sense of loss and this darkness settling in? And I think the reason why is because he was one of us. He was like us. He was obviously on a different level. He's one of a kind. He operated in circles that we could only dream of. But he had common sense beliefs. He was a Christian, and he believed the same things that so many of us do. And he had the courage to go out and say them, and he was effective at saying them. All he ever did was speak the truth with boldness, even to his enemies. He was never harsh to them. He would hear them out, and he would try to change their minds. He never reacted to them the same way that they are reacting to his death. And he was like us, but braver. And that's why I think we have this instinctive sense that this one is different. And this hit's even different than the shot that was taken at President Trump, because he was just talking on a campus. He hadn't been radical. He was hearing people out, he was having an open debate, and he was shot in the middle of that. And I know I was talking recently about how the liberals like to make false slippery slope arguments that if they would arrest veterans for disrupting government proceedings, then they'll come for you next, and how that's not true. But this one, I think, is somewhere where it applies. If they would shoot Charlie Kirk, they would rejoice at our deaths as well. If we said the same things, if you get big enough, you paint a target on the back of your head. And that's why this is different, because this is a shift. They've showed their colors. We've known this for a long time, but this is just another stark reminder that they do want you dead if you hold the same opinions. And to those people, to the shooter, who I believe is still at large, I know this will never reach them. I highly doubt that many of them will see this, but I think the best response that I have to them right now is the lyrics of a song that you can throw your rock and hide your hand, working in the dark against your fellow man. But as sure as God made black and white, what has been done in the dark will be brought to light. And now in my own words, while you still can, run far and run fast, because you may be able to dodge the arm of the law, you may be able to post anonymously, and no one may ever know the darkness that is harbored in your heart, but you will not escape the reach of God, and sooner or later God will cut you down. And that day cannot come soon enough. I pray for mercy on everyone involved, for Charlie's family, for the people celebrating this, that they would wake up before they reach the end of this dark road that they are on, and that God would give grace on this entire world that we've allowed to get to this state, because there are demons walking among us, and there are dark forces at work, and the fight does not stop here. We have to redouble our efforts. We cannot be silent. We cannot fade into obscurity. We need to show them that they cannot silence us. You cannot kill the faith. You cannot kill the truth. And they may go to whatever lengths they want to go, but the truth wins in the end. Charlie died a martyr, and his blood will not be spilled in vain. We will carry on what he started and what he left us to do. God bless everyone. Stay safe out there. I'll see you next time.